I have the unique opportunity to host on a monthly basis over 50 students from across the Troy School District. They're our students, our Superintendent Student Advisory Board. And they're a unique group of young leaders across our school district. They are the individuals, they're the movers and shakers. They're the ones that really make it happen within their buildings. And this year, because we have well over 50 individuals from grades 9 through 12 in all of our buildings, we established an executive board. And with me here today are the three leaders of our executive board for the Superintendent Student Advisory Board. And that is our president, Senior George Perakis from Troy High School. George, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Vice President, Senior from IA East, Akshitha Sahu.
Hello.
Hi, Akshitha. Thanks for being here. And then lastly, a junior from Athens, our Secretary, Marlien William.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Last week, the Creative Guild released some videos that I thought were just spectacular. Short videos, and they were the students responding to what could be in their buildings. It was really spectacular. And when I saw that, I said, we have to get some more student voice through this process. And so, with that in mind, I'd like to just ask you a couple of questions. George, I'm going to start with you. What concerns do you have or might be shared by your friends or classmates about the physical environment at Troy High School?
Yeah, so I think within the building, obviously we all love our buildings in the Troy schools, but I think there are many needs that just aren't being met. I remember specifically, oftentimes my classmates or I just want to go to the bathroom, and there's oftentimes problems with the bathrooms. They're either not running, and it's a lot of times it's due to this old age that they're just not able to be used, whether it's plumbing issues or maintenance issues. We have to walk sometimes all the way across the school and wait in a line just to use one bathroom, and that's not really efficient for being productive in class. And I think thinking back in my previous years, there's a lot of things that just infrastructure-wise those needs are not really being met. So I remember in my Bowen Park Middle School, where I attended middle school, I recall that after a storm or after a lot of rain, we'd notice puddles on the ground, and they'd just be there, and the custodians, they were just working for hours trying to mop them up, and there'd just be signs that said, "Do not cross." And I just remember thinking, how are we not able to have a way to fix these problems, and how are we not able to have a way to improve the infrastructure in these buildings? So I think it's really great to see those kind of things being implemented to kind of find those solutions to those problems and really fix the infrastructure of our buildings, as we know they are getting old as the years go on.
Yeah, thanks, George. I appreciate that. And you mentioned that the infrastructure is old, and many of the buildings across the Troy School District are aging. The average age of a building in the Troy School District is 48 years. We shared much of that information through over the course of the last couple of months, and it does have an impact when our students need to use a restroom and may not be able to use a restroom in one area, may have to go to another area, as well as some flooding that have occurred at both Bolin and Larson. Marlien, let's ask you the same question. What are those things at Athens that either you have experienced or your friends and classmates have experienced that they've shared with you?
So Athens has an amazing community, and I think that the physical space can really, improve how we work together in class. So something that I've noticed across not just Athens, but also my time at Larson and WAS, is just the seating arrangements in class. So I know a few years ago in math classes, a lot of the furniture was swapped out to accommodate for desks that were easily movable or chairs that had wheels under. And so what this does is it makes it very easy to just shift into a collaborative setting and to get to interact with different students within the class period. And this is something that I would love to see across all our classes, both at Athens and the other elementary and middle schools. And so I think kind of thinking about how we work with each other in class when we have a space that can accommodate for our ideas and being able to discuss with each other. For example, in English classes, oftentimes we'll have a Socratic seminar, and our entire class will spread out into a circle and we'll have a discussion over whatever topic the teacher has prepared for that day. If we were able to have desks that could help us to easily slide across the room and be able to talk to the next person and just bounce ideas off each other. Or I think back to in chemistry class when we do whiteboard activities, if we had chairs and tables that could allow us to easily move from one place to the next and create something that really every single person is able to contribute to.
I appreciate that, Marlene. And you hit on another really important topic, and important for the audience to know that we didn't plan this, all right? We just sat down a few minutes in advance and talked about the kind of questions we'd ask, but you hit on another really important one, Marlene, that's flexible furniture and how flexible furniture can help create spaces that allow for students and teachers to work more collaboratively together, whether they be in large groups, seminar, Socratic circles, or whether they be just in small groups, being able to come to pair together 2s, 3s, 4s, and so forth. And the bond does call for brand new flexible furniture pre-K-12 throughout the entire school district. And that's really important. We have some newer flexible furniture in the district that we did at our upper L several years ago, as well as the math classrooms at the secondary level, and we saw some real positive responses from that. And so that flexible furniture is a really important one. So again, thanks for sharing that. Akshitha, I'll ask you that same question. You have the experience of going to IA East, and albeit Troy High is 30 years old and Athens is closing in on 50 years old. Actually, IA East is one of the oldest schools in the district because it's the original Baker Middle School. And kudos to this community for recognizing that that's a building that we could reutilize in a meaningful way. And when New Baker was open in 2006, we were able then to pivot and do some remodeling at Old Baker, and that is now the IA East, as well as our Troy Center for Transition. But it is an older building. We've done some renovations to that building. So talk a little bit, Akshitha, about the experience of that physical experience that both you and your friends have at IA East.
So I think the most important thing I can talk about is just our having more accessibility in our bathrooms specifically. So what I've noticed is that our bathrooms aren't that accessible for people who have differently able bodies, and because of this, I feel like a lot of people don't actually use every bathroom. And for one of our bathrooms I think it's 2 bathrooms, but a lot of our stalls don't actually have locks on them, so you'd have to call a friend over to hold the door, hold the door closed for you. So, I mean, beyond this, the simpler, have locks on doors thing, I think one of the most important spaces where we could include more learning is our library. So I went to Baker Middle School, and the Baker's library is my favorite place in the world. But after that, I mean, IA's library is still pretty good, I guess, but I feel like after Baker, coming to IA's library, I found myself not wanting to go to libraries as many times because even though we do have good seating there, all of that, our books and our shelves are almost falling apart at this point. So I feel like that's another place we could have a lot of improvement. And a lot of my friends also feel the same way. So, and when we talk about our actual classrooms and the seating that's in there, there have been a lot more renovations with our with our desks and everything. They do all have wheels now, but specifically in our science classrooms, we still use those big, heavy black top tables. And I mean, honestly, at least at IA, we don't really do many experiments on those tables. And even if we did, they're not the kind that would put the classroom in flame, which is why those black tables are there in the first place. So I guess that, and then those like Marlene was talking about earlier, those classes are a little hard to collaborate in with other people because we don't always have the space in that classroom to be able to talk about things we want to talk about. So recently we did a Socratic seminar too, like Marlene was saying, in our science classes, and we had to go outside the school or go somewhere else to be able to have that kind of space. So I feel like having that kind of accessibility within the classrooms could really help us in that way.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Akshitha. And you hit on another really important point. And at IA East, one of the things that we recognize and students have shared, staff has shared, is how we can expand our media center, how we can open our media center up in that building. It's still the original media center, although we've done some renovations. So media improvements to the media center, improvements to the old gym there, really just opening space to provide opportunities for students to come together, collaborate as they see fit, and also provide comfortable spaces. I think we take for granted that our schools are. I mean, our kids are in our schools. You are in our schools 6 hours, 7 hours, and in many cases longer than that, depending upon if you're involved in clubs and so forth. And they're not necessarily the most comfortable places. If you look in our classrooms, many of our classrooms are older original desks. They're the hard plastic, right, big clunky desks. Some classrooms, again, have that flexible furniture already. But like when I go to IA East, for instance, I gravitate to the central hallway where you have all of that really nice, cozy, flexible furniture. And to me, those are the kind of experiences that our students want. There is no surprise that in the evenings or on a weekend you see many young people at Starbucks and places like that, because they're places where they want to come together and they want to be able to collaborate together because, again, they're comfortable environments. And so thinking about flexible furniture, it's not just about new flashy furniture. It's really about furniture that allows for comfort, and comfort that allows for students to feel like they belong, which also we know helps to improve the educational experience and so forth. So I appreciate you all sharing those things.